Hello and welcome to this week's Property Matters, the show that brings global trends to an Irish audience to help shape your knowledge of the industry. You can contact us on Twitter at iPropertyRadio or by email at hello@iproperty.com. Now, as mentioned last week, Carol Tallon is out of the country this week, but we have a very special guest host that you've heard here a few times, Gavin Gallagher of PropTech TV.
Thank you, Brian. I'm delighted to be co-hosting Property Matters this week. We have an interesting lineup ahead with some great guests that we hope will show a different side of the property market. But first, let's look at some of the big stories of the past week.
Okay, I'll begin with that because I guess it's quite a well-known fact that Dublin experiences one of the greatest leaps in house prices since 2013, and that came from the Irish Times during the week. In Cork, Cork City now has more than 100 derelict sites, so I don't know what they're going to be doing with that. And in Dublin again, rents to soar as Cuckoo Fund house buying hits a record. Now, just from the listener's point of view, Cuckoo Fund is, I believe, where the investment company is.
It's a nickname that they're giving the company. The big funds are coming into the country and they're buying up huge blocks of flats or apartments or whatever before anybody gets even a look in, and it's causing a lot of kind of controversy because people want to buy houses and they're not even getting an opportunity.
Okay. You got headlines.
Yes, Johnny Ronan got his green light for a landmark 22-storey tower on Tower Street. That was in the Independent. And then we have a story on Market Watch about Facebook setting its sight on housing and whether should Zillow be worried, and I would say yes, they probably should. Landlords who end tenancy will have to sign contracts to sell the property within 9 months going forward, which is there to protect tenants, I guess. And that was in the Irish Times. And then we have some, the pace of construction activity has slowed in March, according to the RTE. And I suppose that would probably be something to do with Brexit, possibly.
Okay, well now it's time to look at some of the political stories that, as they relate to construction industry. The most standout story this week comes from Senator Michael McDowell. Now, as most listeners are probably aware, Senator McDowell has had a very checkered political background. He fell out with Gareth Fitzgerald when he was leader of the Fine Gael party some years ago over economic ideals, and went on to become one of the founders of the Progressive Democrats. He was elected as TD to Dublin South East, which has since been renamed Dublin Bay South, on a number of occasions since, and has held the Justice portfolio as well as being Attorney General. However, after he lost out in a recent general election, he said he was retiring from politics. But now McDowell is full of surprises, and in the last Shannon election, he put his name forward on the National University panel and won. Now, you might ask why we are featuring him in this slot this week, and the reason is there are strong rumours that he wants to run in the next general election. He had an interesting article in the Sunday Business Post where he gives his view on some of the developments in the construction business in the Dublin area, and with Dundrum and Shankill, particularly in the context of this new land development agency. He goes on to say, he says, building costs are rising and trade unions in the sector are seeking 12% increases as supply of skilled building workers lag behind demand. The government is responding by altering the immigration rules for construction workers in the hope of avoiding very serious labour shortages and consequent bottlenecks in the rollout of its infrastructural programmes. The government is pinning its hopes on the private sector to address the homes shortage crisis. Its infant Land Development Agency has yet to be given statutory powers of compulsory acquisition. One instance of the LDA's weakness, he goes on to say, is evident in its dispute with the Dún Laoghaire County Council over lands at Shangallan Castle in South Dublin, which became public last week. Actually, it became public some weeks back. Anyway, as Minister of Justice, I obtained government approval for the closure of Mountjoy Prison and its replacement by a new prison complex at Thornton Hall in North County Dublin. Now, just to bring you up to speed on the Shanganagh Castle dispute, back at the February meeting of the Dún Laoghaire County Council, there was quite a heavy, a very heated debate over the proposed taking over the project from the council to the LDA, and it certainly was very heated. There is a similar dispute surrounding the Central Mental Hospital, which is owned by the Office of Public Works. Anyway, he goes on to mention various other planning problems such as bus connects and Metrolink, but he ends his article by asking what role has local democracy in all of this, and what role would elected mayors have to play? What is the future of local property tax? Do we plan anything or muddle along with serendipity? He goes on to say, why do I get this horrible feeling that there is no one at the wheel So it's an interesting article because of the fact that because of his checkered political past and the fact that he is obviously rumoured to be becoming involved in politics again, but he does pose some questions. And they're very political questions, and I suppose a lot of people know that it is felt that local councillors are losing a lot of power to central government. So he's picking up on those issues, plus the fact too that elected mayors for the various local authorities around Dublin is being heavily talked about, and it's been backed now in the local elections as well. And of course last week we heard too that the local property tax is to be frozen as well, and as Minister for Finance Pascal Donoghue seems to have some sort of plans for that as well. So that's him. So it's an interesting story, and we don't know what he's quite up to, but certainly we should know in the next number of weeks what he plans to do. But I'll give you a roundup of various bills to be discussed in the Oireachtas during the week. The Land and Conveyancing Law Reform Bill 2019, which just last week, goes to Dáil again tomorrow. To motion to the instruct the Committee on the Residential Tenancies Bill 2018, which is an amendment, will be discussed on Thursday afternoon, but we'll have more on that next week. And a kind of an important one too, tomorrow at committee stage, the 35th Amendment of the Constitution, that's water in public ownership, to Bill 2016, which calls an act to amend the Constitution so that Irish water can never be privatised. So it'll be interesting, Gavin, to see what happens there, because there's a lot of controversy and a lot of I suppose controversy is the word I can think of in relation to people being nervous as to whether or not Irish water could be privatised in the past or held in public hands, you know.
Yeah, time will tell. Time
will tell, but I think the left-wing parties are anxious to make sure that it's placed in the Constitution. And of course, the government are sort of saying that it's not going to ever be the case, so that we're wasting our time. But whoever, that's for the future. We'll see what happens in the future, and particularly with this discussion tomorrow at committee stage.
Well, hopefully our guests will be able to make some sense of these big market issues, and maybe they'll uncover a few more for us today. Our first guest in studio with us today is Saoirse Sheridan, founder of elderhomeshare.ie. Glad I got that right. And you are very welcome on Property Matters today, Saoirse.
Thank you, Gavin. It's very nice to be here. Good to see you again.
You're more than welcome. Just if you can give us a very brief kind of intro to what Elder Home Share actually does.
So what we do is we match up people who are looking for accommodation to live with elderly homeowners. For the homeowner, it's peace of mind, knowing that there's somebody there in the house at night, the security, a bit of help around the house, companionship, and it's a win-win. So usually our customers would be their children. They have an elderly parent living alone. We've quite a few matches done here in the Dundrum area, Rathfarnham area. I home shared myself here in Dundrum with David, who's now 99. And a home share companion is basically a secure presence in the house at night, in exchange for a room in the home. So it's a real win-win for the homeowner, friendship, company, support, for the companion, an affordable place to live, and for their adult children, peace of mind knowing that there's somebody there with their mum or dad in the house at night.
That sounds like a great idea. And tell me, is it actually free rent that the person gets, or do they pay a lower market rent?
They pay a very low contribution, but what they do is that they give 8 hours a week in companionship and support.
Right.
So that would maybe be 5 hours social contact and 3 hours of help, maybe
helping
with
a
bit of shopping, hoovering, putting the bins out, and they commit to sleeping in the house at night. Obviously they go away at weekends and they have holidays, they're out at work during the day. And my interpretation, that is, a home share companion would complement care in the home. It wouldn't replace it, it can complement it.
That's very interesting. And how did you come up with the idea, or when did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, I think it's close to 4 years ago. I was given notice to move out of my own rented accommodation. I was back in college. I'd gone back to do an internship. I thought, what am I going to do? These rents are so expensive. And I grew up with my own granny in the house, and I really loved the relationship I had with her. So I put my thinking cap on, and I finally said, wouldn't it be great if I could live with an older homeowner and help out in exchange for a room in their home? So I'm quite entrepreneurial. I've gone back to college to study entrepreneurship. I'm trained in psychotherapy. I used to introduce single people to each other. So there's a real mix of ingredients there that kind of gave me the get up and go to put this business idea into practice. And I made my own website. I got a free hot desk in the Fumbly Exchange. I did my first match for Peggy, who's still alive and well and in her late 90s. I did that in January 2016, and in that time since then I've done 56 placements. I'm now working on the 57th placement, and through that journey I learned my craft and increased the innovation in the whole process.
So you're kind of going online with this now, as opposed to the way it was in the past, which was kind of more you running around kind of organising this kind of stuff.
100%, yeah. We've really kind of increased the automation, and our recent clients and customers who've gone through the process, I don't go to the house, I don't meet the family. I provide a reference check from the family side and from the companion side, and that's what makes it secure. We have a very robust home share agreement in place, and as a Social Entrepreneurs Ireland awardee, Goodbody, the legal firm, are really going through every aspect of my business and giving the whole business an upgrade and improving the home share agreement for me.
So you don't have to have HSC approval or anything, do you?
I don't have HSC approval.
You don't have to have a job.
No. And it's, I mean, I wouldn't be driving to try and get their approval because, I mean, I've tested the service, the feedback is really good, and I guess I'm quite driven to scale it through Ireland because we are getting families in Cork, Galway, Cavan. We've done a match in Trim, we did one in Galway, and the innovation and the technology allows you to scale, but the reference checking and the home share agreement and the customer service keeps it safe.
That's brilliant. That's fantastic. And if somebody wanted to find it for you, they would go to, is it elderhomeshare.ie?
Yeah, that's where they come onto the platform, have a look around, have a read, see what you think, and touch base if you think this is something that would be useful for an elderly parent or loved one who's living alone.
And at the moment you have 56.
We facilitated 56 placements, and I had a new family on board about 2 days ago in Blackrock and another inquiry there yesterday. So there is a problem out there, and this business not only helps on a practical way and reduces the cost of maybe needing care in the home at night if your parent isn't incapacitated, it also extends time at home, and the social benefit for the homeowner and for the home share companion, it's a win-win.
Fantastic.
And I mean, from the point of view of talking to the say as a mother talking to her children, I mean, there's a lot of vetting going on, obviously, from their point of view?
Yeah, the reference check process is, just say Gavin reached out to me in another 5 to 10 years' time. He said, Saoirse, we'd love to get somebody in with mum. So I would share profiles with Gavin of people who were interested in the match. Gavin would maybe go, God, these 3 girls seem like a good fit. He'd meet them for a coffee in Bewley's, get a sense of their character, how it feels in your gut, and then he'd come back to me, come back to the platform and say, Sarah's the best fit, they were all really nice, and then we do a reference check on Sarah, which means we get 3 references, one from a job, maybe a university, somewhere she's volunteered, and we ring all of them, and that really gives you a good sense of Sarah's character from different touch points. And likewise, Gavin would have to provide a reference for her mum from the family doctor or a community health nurse to ensure that she's not too frail and that she'd have the right kind of temperament for this situation.
And is there much competition, Saoirse, in this in the service you provide?
No, there's not a lot of competition, but there is new competition now, which is a really good thing because it's just a very positive indication of the market and the solution, and that's all good. And globally, home sharing is cropping up around the world, so it's kind of the way forward.
Yeah, and just from the point of view of elderly. And it's always I was picked up on calling people elderly because elderly is now 55, believe it or not. But those that are more senior, do you see there's an emphasis by their children, their adult children, to keep them at home, or nursing homes? What do you think is the attitude there for the most part?
I think that's a good question, and I think everyone wants to stay at home as long as they can. Home is where the heart is. We want to stay in our own homes, and also, I mean, David, who I lived with him for 2 years. He's now 99. He went into a nursing home, I think it's about six or 7 months ago, and it got to a stage where he's too frail. It wouldn't be safe for him to be at home. A home share companion would no longer be the right fit, and he's now in a nursing home, and he's actually really, really happy. And the time with me extended the time at home for him, and from his own well-being, he wanted to stay at home. He was really happy, and from a cost perspective,
huge.
Yeah, huge. So it's reducing the cost of that very. If somebody's 99, their level of care and the cost of that, you want to push that out as far as you can. So children ring me up and they're quite anxious and they're looking for a solution, and maybe their mum had a fall recently, or is saying, I'm nervous to be in the house, or they've early stage dementia or Parkinson's. So it just fits in really well, and it keeps people safe.
And tell me this, seriously, the kind of people that would be going in, what can they expect their kind of living conditions to be? Do they live within, say, one room, or do they have kind of freedom of the house, or how does if somebody was thinking of sort of partaking in this?
So yeah, that's a good question too. So a home share companion would obviously have their own room. They'd have access to the kitchen, to the facilities. Obviously, we're not going to move in and start changing the house around. We need to be very respectful, and in the home share the agreement there'd be bullet points like no overnight guests, no mad parties. I think that's everyone's worst fear. To be honest, everyone I've placed, they tend to be female working professionals. And say I had a girl called Coral. She was from Mexico. Her mum came over to see her, and her mum stayed in the house. Family were like, of course your mum can stay in the house. And Coral lived with Kay for 2 years and helped Kay to stay at home with the practical help of help around the house, but also the companionship.
Well, would the share then say take your weekends off or something like that to have some sort of a?
Yeah, 100% they would. They're out on Saturday night. They're in their yoga class on Wednesday. They're at work all day. Yeah. But they're coming in and they're sleeping in the house, and they're making a commitment of some social contact and practical help.
But there'd be no relationships encouraged within that sort of arrangement, was there?
There'd be no bringing your boyfriend back to the house. As far as I know, I don't think that's something. Or
sneaking them in through the back window, maybe.
Yeah. So obviously there are, there's bells and whistles for. In other words, there's a criteria for these for anyone that's going to look after an elderly woman or man, for that matter.
Yeah, there's boundaries in place to keep
it's
everyone
very important.
going.
That'll give peace of mind to the family, because you don't want. And also, apart from that, I know from in the case of my own mother, she would be very particular in the way she wants to have the house, kind of in terms of so things like that. You'd bring in somebody who's very untidy or something. It just wouldn't work. You just know that's going to create sort of frustration.
The match I'm in at the moment, I'm out in Monkstown now with a really great woman. She's going to be 90 this summer, and her core requirements was, I want somebody to keep my kitchen really, really clean. And whenever I used to rent a room out to someone, I was like, you have to keep the kitchen really, really clean. So I'm kind of a good match for her, because I leave her kitchen really spick and span. But likewise for me as a business owner, I let the family know I'm out of the house from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Does that work for you? And they were like, that's perfect. Mum doesn't want anyone under her feet. We really just want that secure presence in the house at night. So there's always a little bit of a variation in the matches.
So what are your plans for the future? You've built up a successful business here now. Where do you see yourself going now from Blau?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've just applied for New Frontiers Phase 2, and I really am focused on innovation and technology in order to scale the business around the country. So that's very exciting. The big dream would be to go into foreign markets, but right now, right today, it's very much focused on, our customers here in Dublin and around the country, and really improving the systems that we have in place.
Right, Saoirse. Well, very best of luck in the future, and thanks for coming in. That was Saoirse Sheridan, founder of Elder Home Share. I think we got the name right.
Elder Home Share.
Elder Home Share.
.ie.
Well, next up, after a quick break, we'll be joined in studio by Healy Hines, CEO and founder of Beagle, the online property sales platform.
Your community radio for South Dublin. This is Dublin South FM.
And you're very welcome back to Property Matters here in Dublin South FM with Gavin Gallagher and myself, Brian Fox. You can contact us on Twitter at iProperty or email hello@iPropertyRadio.com. As mentioned before the break, we have Healy Hines, CEO and founder of Beagle, online property sales platform. Now, we've had Healy on with us for a second time, and we're delighted you're here with us again, Healy. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So let's talk about some property news here. And it's interesting, there's a story here about Purple Bricks stock downgraded 80% by an investment bank. Do you want to tell us more about that?
It's very much, I think, on trend of what's happened over the last number of months, as we've seen with eMove as well.
Yeah,
the
that's Russell Quirk.
Yeah.
I've been looking.
What's eMove? Online estate agencies, and they were very much at the cutting edge of the change in the marketplace, and they led from the forefront. Purple Bricks, particularly as a PLC, they floated.
So eMoves have had a thump, have they?
Well,
they went under.
They went under, unfortunately. Yeah, that whole operation went down, and I think on the back of it, Purple Bricks are getting the backlash now.
I do think there's been a huge.
Sorry, Gavin. Why did it? What happened with the site then? I mean, was it just lack of popularity, or?
I think they were spending too much money. I mean, in the case of eMove, it was basically cash burn. They weren't bringing in the income, but they were burning through their cash, and I think it's something similar with Purple Bricks. The fact that they've gone and done a stock market listing, they brought in loads and loads of cash, and they've been going through, I don't know how many million a month or something like that, but it's huge amount of money. And the problem is they're just not getting the market traction. And I would say obviously Brexit is not helping, because there's probably a stagnation in the market there in the UK.
That as well, but they've also gone to Australia. Remember, they've really set their boat out there, and they've gone far and wide with the online estate agency model, and I think it's really acted as a wake-up call for a lot of the estate agents that the way technology has moved is changing the way they need to operate, and there's been an evolution then of, is it high street, is it online, is it hybrid, what is the future of the industry? And I think the reality is, as we're seeing from what's happened with Purple Bricks, the future of the industry is what the users of the industry want it to be, not what the stakeholders in the industry want it to be. Like competition, no one estate agency ever seems to get massive market dominant share, and it appears as if this is what the business model for a lot of these.
It seems too that Berenbank analysts are saying that reduced growth in the core UK market and mounting losses in the US and Australian markets have. So obviously, despite all the good economic news we're hearing from the States, the expansion was just too fast.
I think yeah. Well,
US is a massive market to try and disrupt. It's structurally very different to the Irish and Australian.
You also have the incumbents that are there, like Zillow and stuff. I mean, those guys are not going to just allow you to walk into the market.
Well, Purple Bricks Zillow wouldn't be a competitor to Purple Bricks, but you've got Remax, you've got Keller Williams, you've got Century 21, you've got Compass, you've got so many players in that space, and you've got much larger commissions as well. You've got buyers agents, you've got sellers agents, you've got 6% commissions, and they were looking to drive the low commission model in there. The difficulty I think they may be finding in the US is that, again, it's structurally is different. They have different legislations in different states as well, and the access to the MLS system, it's very, very difficult to disrupt that. It should have been easier probably in Australia because of the similarity to the UK model.
Housing crisis there, aren't they?
There's an issue starting to arise now in Australia, and remember they never underwent the crash of 2008 that we hit, so they may be potentially hitting that now with the slowdown and change in the Chinese economy. A lot of their investment in Australia has been led by Chinese money, mining signing, exports, all that kind of stuff. That's starting to slow down, which may be starting to impact what's happening in the Australian marketplace. So Purple Bricks has been hit on a number of fronts. But what they have done, I think, is they've led the flag on the technology end of it, and they've opened up the openness of the stakeholders and the realization to the people who are in the industry that business can be conducted in a different fashion. So
we haven't really discussed what they do, though, have we? What in fact? What were they?
They're online estate agents, effectively. That's what they're. They're competitors to incumbent players in the marketplace, and they're just doing it using an online model with no high street offices.
And no high street office, so they can offer a lower commission, basically.
That's
I think you
that's
pay
really
a
what
flat
they are.
price, don't you? In a certain
they do, yeah. They have flat fee models and this kind of stuff. So it's a low cost, it's a low fee, low cost model to compete against the existing high street estate agents. That's really what they've done.
And were they active in Ireland?
No. They've not been active in Ireland. There are some online estate agents setting up in Ireland, but again, it's a much smaller marketplace, and from Purple Bricks' perspective, they're going where the big bucks are.
So, from the point of view of the business what you're in, Healy, this is a big story then in relation to.
Well, it's interesting in that it shows that the disruptors in the marketplaces. They were first to the space out there. They've spread the word about technology can be used, and they've shown the estate agents who are incumbent in the space that they need to do business differently. And rather than competing, what we do, like Beagle isn't an estate agent. Like we're not a Purple Bricks. We're a platform. We're a technology provider. So we allow estate agents using the BeagleBid.ie platform to do online private treaty bidding 24 hours a day, and then using our BeagleSold.ie platform.
And how is that distinct from Purple Bricks?
Well, it's a different
software
model
as a service.
We're a software provider. Yeah. So we allow the estate agents to deal with their customers 24 hours a day, basically. So we're not competing against estate agents. We're not
That's
doing that at all.
Is that the other guys, Purple Bricks, were taking on the estate agency market. So you're making a lot of enemies there. Compared to Healy's trying to help the market.
We're the estate agent's friend. We're not their competitor. So we're standing beside them, understanding, having come from a family background, grown up in the industry, and I know what the pain points are. So we provided the technology to allow all the estate agents to solve the pain points that they have. And what Purple Bricks have done is they've kind of shaken the market, put a little bit of fear probably into some of the estate agents, realising that the existing model isn't fit for purpose anymore. And judging by this, maybe the Purple Bricks model isn't fit for purpose either.
When you say the business model, you mean the model where we go into the shop on the high street and have a look at the books there and talk to the estate agent?
They don't even go into the estate agents anymore.
They
go online and they do a viewing, and they set up the viewing, and they go take a look at the property. But the business model in you ring the estate agent, you make an offer, you wait 48 hours, the estate agent rings you back and says, Brian, there's 250 on that now, and you don't really know. And there's it's because
it's funny though, because if you look back to when I started following that, 2017, when I remember looking at, you had. What's the group in the UK, the one that's on every corner? I just
Foxtons?
Foxtons, that's the one. Okay, so Foxtons' share price was going like this, and Purple Bricks' share was going like this. At the time, there was this huge discussion about the fact that Foxtons, because they had hundreds of branches all over England. And then these guys, Purple Bricks, came along, no branch network at all, so none of that overhead, and everyone's saying this is an amazing model. This is going to totally. But the problem is to get traction, you've got to spend a huge amount on advertising.
Massive.
And these guys would be spending millions a month on just advertising to get it out there so that everyone starts using the platform. And of course, then you start attracting with it competition. So guys come along and say, well, I can set up my software that does something similar. And then they start offering deals and stuff. And so the guys, it kind of waters down the market a little bit.
Sure. So the researchers got it wrong then, do you think, Healy? Or was it just a bad timing?
You mean the researchers?
For Purple Bricks?
Well, it's bad time for them. Their markets are being hit as well, and the estate agents are getting wise to the fact that they need to do their business differently.
Okay.
So there's a bit of that going on as well, and there's a bit of a learning process from the way the way that their business is conducted is actually quite different from the technology that we provide estate agents with. So we actually allow them to operate with an even lower cost base than Purple Bricks is still quite a very manual system. Like from our perspective, 75% of the transactions that are going on with estate agents on the Beagle platform are actually done while their offices are closed. There's no staff involved in it.
This is actually another reason why some tech companies will decide not to go and list on the public markets, because a lot of what's driving this could actually be short sellers that are actually kind of saying, let's drive this price down. Whereas if you were privately owned, like for example, Facebook didn't make a profit for years and years. So they were able to go out and they were able to continue to rise because they were growing. They weren't making any money at all.
Sure.
But they had people that were backing them up. Whereas with this, because it's listed publicly, you've got guys can come along and start selling you short to drive the price down.
This sounds a bit like the recession at the end of the 80s, I think, early 90s, when a lot of it was blamed on the computer crash at the time. I think if you go back to
the dot-com.
The dot-com
bust.
Yes, Is that sort of kind of similar idea?
2001.
2001.
Yeah, not dissimilar.
Not dissimilar. Yeah. So you. I'm sure you don't want to answer this question, but I'll put it to you anyway. You don't want to go into competition now with your own platform, or have I got that wrong in relation to online bidding and all that type of business?
In competition
with your fellow estate agents?
Oh no, absolutely. We're not competition.
No, that's what I'm saying.
We're actually endorsed by the estate agents. We've been into.
You're providing.
We've actually the IPAV, one of the auctioneering bodies in Ireland. We actually have an affinity deal with IPAV members. So our technology is
you're providing them.
We're providing software solutions to the estate agents. So we're not estate agents.
And yours is basically, it's a white label type product, so that somebody can come along and put their own badge on it.
White label being
white label.
They're dealing directly with the estate agents. We have no direct dealing with the purchasers or the vendors at all.
You just write the software.
We provide you with the platform when we connect it up to your systems, and then if somebody registers with you to make an offer, you make a decision on whether they can bid or what they can't bid, or what your vendors, all those alert systems that are done. So you control the sale. We don't get involved in that at all.
And are you exclusive to this market, or are there many of you in the Irish market?
The technology that we provided is unique.
Is unique?
Yeah, it's unique. Yeah.
And you've got a lot of interest, obviously, then from business people, estate agents here in this country.
And increasingly so. We have a number of estate agents who are just moving their entire business model online.
And what makes it so unique then, Healy?
It's an estate agent solving an estate agent's problem. So a man has been beaten by the whip for many years and realise how to get it off.
They know you. They know you on the market. In other words,
well, exactly. It's sometimes a lot of the prop tech that you come across is technologists from the outside looking at the industry and saying, "This is what the pain points are. This is how I'm going to solve it." That's not where Beagle came from. Beagle came from an estate agent who grew up in the industry, who went through the 2008
recession
implosion with his business, and sat down and said, right, this time I'm doing it differently, and built this technology to solve those problems, and I left the estate agency directly to concentrate on the technology itself, because I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm working with estate agents, so I want no
conflict.
Absolutely not even a perception of a conflict that this is a back end to setting up an online estate agency, because agents are very precious about their businesses. A lot of them,
client lists,
it's their name over the door. Like it's actually their name that's sitting up there, and it's possibly their dad's name, or like it is with us. And my sister is now running it. So it's run through three. The Heinz Auctioneers business has run through three sets of family hands, and we're not unique in that. So we understand where it's come from and how important it is that you remain in control of your business. Which is what we're doing. We're just allowing the estate agents who are there as their businesses build to do them more efficiently.
How long have you been involved? I think we're probably just to refresh listeners' minds today. How long have you been involved with this business yourself?
Well, I started the coding of it probably about 4 years ago, but we soft launched. I left the estate agency 2 years ago to concentrate on 18 months, 2 years ago to concentrate on it fully. Started working with Enterprise Ireland. Then soft launched the platform in August of last year. Got HPSU approval in January of this year. The last time I was on with you, we passed 100 million in online bids, and as of last weekend, we passed 300 million at the weekend.
Fantastic.
And where did you get the idea from yourself?
I got the idea from the fact that I needed to. I had 18 staff staff working for me at the height of the market, and I was writing wages checks every Friday afternoon. And then realising it had to be done better. Well, actually, the first time I saw eBay, I realised there's a better way of selling stuff.
But you hadn't seen any copycat. You hadn't seen any other type of models working like that abroad, or
no? Well, this model doesn't exist anywhere else, to my knowledge, and I'm very open to see if it does.
How does it compare with, say, BidX1?
Yeah, well, again, BidX1 is an online estate agency, and they provide online auction facilities quite good. We provide estate agents with Beagle Sold, which is an online auction platform which they can set up, maybe running inside 45 seconds. Right. So we're providing the technology to level the playing field amongst estate agents, so they can use their skills, because they are a very skilled sector. So we're automating the menial tasks, so they can concentrate their staff on the high value tasks.
So you're only 2 years in business. You're obviously quite a success.
Doing all right. Quite happy.
Million,
would you think of expanding?
Yes, we are. We're constantly expanding. We're taking on more clients in Ireland at an increasing rate here, and we have plans for expansion into the UK and farther afield. So for us, Ireland is proof of concept for our business model, understanding how we operate, and then developing a scalable model here that we will translate into foreign markets.
You're not the least bit anxious about the UK market?
Absolutely not, no, because the technology that we have, Ireland at the moment is quite a hot market, and our technology works very well. But in a lean market, you need to be more efficient than ever. So regardless whether the market is warm or cold,
so conditions
are
kind of irrelevant to you. You just adapt to whatever.
Well, exactly. Like, do you use a photocopier irrelevant of whether or not the market is hot or not?
Okay, yeah. People want to buy and sell.
People want to buy and sell.
Good metaphor. Right, yeah. And tell me this, Healy, you actually did this coding yourself. That's quite. How long did it take you to learn to code and things like that?
I grew up
coding.
Did you?
Yeah. Commodore 64.
Sinclair ZX Spectrum 48, which I still have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had a 64. Yeah.
So you were quite friendly to the whole idea of programming.
Yeah. Well, I did that all along. I've built computer networks, and I've written code consistently, and I have a degree in marketing as well, so I'd actually had a marketing agency set up as well.
You probably have a degree in IT now as well, do you?
I probably have by osmosis. I probably have a degree by osmosis. Yeah.
Obviously, it's obviously the way of the future. From the way you're talking.
It's the way of now. It's not the future. This is today.
We'll get you coding soon.
Okay, I think we're out about time. That was Healy Hines, CEO and founder of Beagle, the online property sales platform. Healy, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And
guys.
I hope to see you again sometime soon. I am
absolutely
very anxious to hear about your future developments.
Yes, we'll talk soon.
We won't say any more about that for now anyway. Stay tuned. After the break, we will be hearing from Emma Hayes, Head of PR and New Media for Property District.
Broadcasting to South Dublin on 93.9. This is Dublin South FM.
And you're very welcome back to Property Matters here in Dublin South FM with Brian Fox and Carol Tannon. It's not Carol, it's Gavin who's here today. You can contact us on Twitter at iPropertyRadio or email hello@iPropertyRadio.com. Our next guest is Emma Hayes, Head of PR and New Media for Property District. Emma, nice to see you.
Hello. Hi, Brian. Nice to see you.
How are you today? How is everything?
Great.
Good. Great. We're going to talk about social media for the property industry. Tell us, is social media being widely used by the property industry?
I think it is mostly. There's still some people some estate agents that are a little bit nervous in getting involved. We do have clients overall that are embracing it. We have some clients that are kind of reluctant to get involved in it, and some that only want to use maybe a Facebook page, or they might want to only use LinkedIn, but they don't predominantly want to use a lot of the platforms. So we're kind of seeing that people are embracing it more so now than before, definitely, but there's still some work to be done, and we're hoping that more people come on board as such.
And what do you think is the attitude like out there in relation to, I mean, it's been out there quite a while now at this point.
Yeah.
Is it a sort of sceptical attitude to it, or what?
I think it is. Like some estate agents, like they've been around 30 years, and we know that in the last 20 years there's been huge changes. In the last 10 especially, there's been huge changes. So for us, it's all about like talking to our clients and educating them on what is best for their business, because we know that in a couple of years things are going to move very quickly, and that if they don't get on board with social media right now, they're going to be left very much behind, because we know more and more people are using their devices to get information.
You know, good. Yeah, the other thing I want to ask you too about is, let's get away from social media for a moment. How is PR, how do people in the property business view PR?
PR, I think they view it as
Public
a very good
relations,
tool. Yeah, definitely. Because, with Property District, we offer a whole kind of communications strategy. So it's not just social media. We look at their PR. We look at everything, and their content creation. We look after their blogs. We do videos. We have a tech team in-house now that can look after 360 virtual tours. And we're doing a lot to kind of move with the times so we can offer this to our clients at a good rate. And I think they are enjoying the whole process. I think most of them do. And the PR is really a big part of that, because you can't just have social media without having good PR as well, because they do work. We find that we prefer someone to come on board as a whole strategy.
And from your own point of view, did you see a niche in the market for PR within that area?
Yeah, well, there always has been. I've worked with property clients for a few years, and obviously Property District has been there for a good few years now with Carol, and she's obviously very experienced in everything. But myself, I started working with a local estate agents in my own town, and it kind of built on from there, my experience, and and then I got on board with Property District and joined the team. So we're a few years at it, and it has been something that has been really welcomed, and I do love what I do, because you do come away from meetings and know that you're doing the best job for them, and they do need this service, and estate agents they do need to move forward with the times.
And I mean, is there any typical size of estate agent who would take on your services?
Well, usually it's independents. The smaller guys. Obviously, the bigger companies would have their own in-house PRs. They have their own communications. For us, it's mostly independent, smaller guys from all around the country, actually. And for us, it's really important, because what we do is we kind of we put them as the local estate agent. We position them as the local expert in their area. So we don't just throw up a few Facebook posts.
How is that done? Is it through social media?
It's storytelling and content and everything through blogs. Predominantly it used to be written content. As we know, we've moved forward into video and everything, infographics especially as well. So now we're changing the way we think, and over the last couple of years we've had to do that. And now a lot of them are embracing the whole thing of it, and it's been really full service, and it works really well. I think most of them are happy, and anyone that we've taken on, we retain them as clients, because we do a good job for them, and they see the value that it offers them in the long term. And it is, whether it's PR, whether it's the social media, but they all do work together. It's not just one simple throw something out there and it'll work. It's not really
because a lot of people see PR people as people that are sort of in crisis management when it comes to communications. That is not exactly what PR people do.
No, definitely not. No, we would for local estate agents, they could be doing something really great in their community, and how do you get word out about that? Well, you tell everybody. So you can tell, obviously you can put it on your blog, and you can put it on your website, you can put it on social media, but it's great to get the local papers involved, and if you can get nationals, great. If it's a great story, of course we can play.
So you have to bring in the local newspapers
it's storytelling,
as well.
And my strength is storytelling. I've worked freelance writing for years, so I can go into a meeting, I can meet with people, and I really I want to know everything about their business. It doesn't matter what business, because we work with construction, we also work with property developers, and I've worked with a whole array, from food to tourism, all sorts of different clients over the years. So we need to find that story within them. We need to understand their brand.
You're building a narrative, in other words.
Exactly, build their narrative that suits them.
It's how you engage.
Tell the story.
You've got to engage.
The story
exactly. And you know this as well, Gavin, you understand a lot about it, that getting them emotional storytelling is very important, and people will engage. We find that if a local estate agent does something locally in the community and you can put that out there, a lot more people will engage with it, because they're getting to know the local estate agent, and it is about building that kind of belief in the estate agents, because sometimes people might think their estate agent, there's so many in a town, there could be 5, 6, there could even be more. I know in my town there could be around 10 or 11. I'm in Naas. And so how do we position them, and how do we make them
and would they typically come to you, or do you have to go to them to
actually, with Property District we've had them come to us, so luckily we're in a very privileged position that we've kind of let our service do the talking. So we are at the stage now, we're lucky enough that clients will come to us. We don't necessarily go out looking for them, we prove ourselves through our clients, and then what we do in-house as well. and stuff like that. So it's working really well, but it is really beneficial to them. And I think like going forward, it's going to be so much more important as we go forward, because the website isn't enough anymore. If an estate agent has a website,
it's distribution.
It's just, exactly, and it's just not going to convince consumers anymore. They're all on social media. Well, most people are. They're all going to be turning to different ways, and like we have different generations coming through, and we know that Gen Zs are spending 74% of time, their free time, online, and and these are the people that will be buying and selling in years to come. So we've got to accept that the demographics are going to change, and how do you respond to those changes? So that's what we're working on.
The things that you did 5 years ago are no longer the things that you have to do these days. I mean, the speed of change is incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Just because something worked 5 or 6 years ago doesn't mean it's going to work today. You know?
No.
Just from the point of view, I'm just asking a broad question about PR, really, not just specifically estate agents. Does the fact that a lot of shall we call them celebrities and high-profile politicians, such as our dear president in the United States at the moment, put a lot of stuff on, let's say, what could be seen as press releases on Twitter. Does that make the PR business nervous?
No, not from my point of view. We very much focus on what we do. I don't get interest. I don't pay too much attention to what others are doing, because I think our competition is always going to be there. And I think how we always, especially me, when I came onto the team, it was all about doing PR differently. We wanted to do alternative. We didn't want to do the traditional of just getting people into papers. It's all about the whole concept of like, what is PR? Like, even a good social media post can technically be PR if it's done properly, and if it hits the right demographic, and if it's the right market. But we never wanted to stick to the tradition, and that's what we've moved away from, is trying to do everything a little bit differently and it does come back to
innovating.
Story. We are, and we're changing, and we're learning as well. And it's not, we don't know everything right now, and no business could ever know everything, and I know I don't. I've learned a lot in the last 6 months about video myself on the ground, like actually seeing how it all works, and it's been a huge learning curve, and I will continue to learn. But that's good, because it means our clients are also evolving with us, and we're providing them really
before we get any emails in, I have to correct myself, because I said our dear president. He is not our dear. He's not. And I shouldn't even said dear. He's not our president. He's the US president. So you said you work with newspapers as well. Do you provide newspaper articles and press releases?
Press releases. So we do that as part of our communication strategy. So everybody would get like a blog, they get an infographic, they would also maybe get a video. It really depends on what they want, and also at the start it's great if we get free rein, but obviously some people are nervous, they want to just see how it goes, and they want to test. They want to control it. So we're very happy to see what a client wants. Of course, we will advise them in what we think is the best course of action.
Which social media platforms are you finding the best for results?
Facebook is really good, but sometimes people are finding it difficult as well to get kind of people engaging with it. But the views are always high, it's just people aren't liking it. And of course, a client will come to you and say, there's only 5 likes on it, or 6 likes. But the point is that your brand is getting there. So on average, you could have 1,000 views. That means 1,000 views. People have seen you over 1,000 times, your name there. So that's
what about
really
LinkedIn?
beneficial.
How are you finding LinkedIn?
I think LinkedIn's great, personally and professionally.
I think
find
it's
it
more powerful than Facebook.
LinkedIn isn't it? LinkedIn just for
businesses.
But job searching.
But I think
really, it's not for job searching anymore. Way beyond.
It's now it's got a news feed similar to but it's actually
video.
I think video as well.
So it's like for us journalists in the media business, we're not particularly comfortable with what's happening with Google, and they're doing that type of news story now.
Well, I think LinkedIn is probably the most powerful.
Yeah, even for myself, like I find it really, really good, and I've also found it good for clients and their pages. Like they're kind of a slow burner. You have to be very committed in building a LinkedIn page for a company. Regardless, it does take time. So if you're hoping they're going to get 100 followers within a couple of days, that's probably not going to happen. But what you do is you build it, and you build a community around your page and everything. And it takes page, and you've got to share content that is useful to your followers as well, and stuff, and add value to them.
We've talked there about social media, but what about video?
Video is going crazy at the moment. What's lucky is what's lucky is now is with Insta stories and Facebook stories and all these things, and Snapchat as well, is that we don't necessarily need fancy cameras and fancy videos. So we're looking at, it's more cost effective now than it was say 3-4 years ago, which Gavin, I'm sure you would agree, like that it has evolved. So you don't need to make sure that you're like a perfect fancy camera and you don't have to make sure you've got the proper makeup on and look perfect, that it's okay to do a video as long as your content is valuable. So that's what you need to do. You need to find the right brand, the right way to project your brand, and we can help you with that and making sure your voice is authentic.
And I mean, you'd obviously use video on the website?
Yeah, we can use video on the website as well. So we would usually kind of do a blog a month. We do video, we do infographic, and kind of like mix it up like that. So people are getting different types of content.
With video, the important thing is, I mean, for example, YouTube. It's a search engine. It's the second most powerful search engine after Google.
Yeah.
And so if you create the correct kind of conditions, if you use the right correct title and the description stuff, you can have an enormous search volume, and people are coming and discovering your stuff very, very quickly.
And everybody loves YouTube, and that's like
well, the other thing with video is what I'm noticing too now with politicians, because I do a lot of political work myself, is that a lot of politicians do a piece to camera for their
it's like a selfie.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Here we are on live.
Yes,
exactly.
But there's a lot of work involved in that, because you have to sort of memorize your script as well.
Yeah, you do. And then there is people that actually, like you see it on LinkedIn now a lot, people are just actually, I don't care about a script, I'm just going to say what I think. And
I think the best example actually of a politician is the new the lady in America, AOC. She goes by the initials, and
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
That's it. She, I mean, in particular, the Twitter platform. Everyone is just commenting that she owns that platform now. She completely dominates because she knows it's so kind of like intuitive to her. Because she's grown up with the thing. And like when the last election was going on, she was working in a bar.
That's right.
Today she's she's sitting there as a congresswoman. It's incredible. Like,
that's incredible. Yeah.
And just if you see some of the interactions she's had with other Congress people and stuff like that, it's fantastic. I mean, she's just so sharp on.
It just goes to show how social media has got a lot of negative press, and it will continue to do so, because there is people that will not treat it as it should be. It should be treated with respect, of course, but it is really beneficial to businesses if it's used properly.
Do you think Facebook will be regulated after the latest scandals?
Yeah, I know that's another question you get asked a lot as well by clients and everything. But I'm of the opinion your data is always going to be questioned and everything, and we are living in the whole era of this problem and everything. So it's either we just have to try and personally manage it. Yeah,
but I am surprised, Emma, in that, particularly after the scandal last year with Cambridge Analytica, that I would have thought that Facebook would be less popular than that because of the harvesting they have done for politicians. But that is not the case as far as you're concerned.
I don't think it has.
I think the people are still viewing it, but I think the regulators and the people in kind of law enforcement, I think they're starting to sort of take a very close look at it, because I think Facebook is considered damaging. The fact that the American election was kind of interfered with and stuff like that. The fact that they haven't taken down hate speech and things like that. I think it's becoming,
well, that's a huge thing. Like, that's a huge problem.
I think all of those platforms are going to come under a huge pressure now, because it's becoming just a big issue. It's kind of like, we're not sorry, we're not capable of managing that. I'm sorry.
Well, there always has been that tension there between newspapers and those, because of the fact that newspapers are publishers, where they consider themselves platforms, so free from defamation and so forth as well.
No, there is, and there's always going to be huge problems with any of these tools that we use, like any technology tools that come through the ranks are always going to have these issues or problems with them, but that doesn't mean that we can all just decide not to use them, and businesses
you'll fall behind if you don't.
You've got to stay ahead of the game,
But as far as you're concerned, you keep it small for now. I mean, from the point of view of your business and your own business model in PR.
Well, we actually take on bigger clients. We don't mind who the clients are, but predominantly it has been independents and small estate agents, and construction companies, large property developers could be large companies as well. But and in PR, it depends on what the client wants, and like I said, it comes back to when you take them on, it's in what they want, and what they're
having a messaging strategy,
and each one is different, and if it was the same for every single estate agent,
what's the typical response from estate agents at the moment, from the point of view what they would tell you typically?
Well, social media, from the social media angle, a lot of them are wanting video at the moment. That's the biggest thing at the moment is video. Are we looking at video? We need video, but then they don't know how to get video. So I'm finding I need to be training people, as in, right, I need to go out and show them how to do an Insta stories, because they are on the road, they're in the houses, so it's easier for me to teach them how to do it. Of course, we can support them, but we need to offer that training and stuff so they can also utilise the tools that are available to them.
And there's so many different formats.
In their hand. Like,
video
let's not forget,
formats, yeah.
the phone is in their hand. They're going out with a phone. So you need to, let's utilise what's in your hand and let your consumers utilise what's in their hand.
How would you edit them? Would you edit on the phone, or would you edit?
But they can send them over to us and we would edit them, or like some of them will just go straight out, like, because Insta Stories is live, but you can archive stuff and publish it afterwards. But it depends, again, it depends on the client.
You can
and
kind of cut it on the fly as well.
Yeah.
And
it depends on the client, and it depends on their experience and how they are with social media themselves.
It's a big world, obviously, the PR world, and a lot involved. I'm sure what we discussed is only a small piece. I'm sure the speech is to be written and so forth as well.
It is indeed.
Well, that was Emma Hayes, Head of PR and New Media for Property District. Emma, thank you for being with us today. And,
no problem.
That's it for the studio today. Thank you for joining us all on Property Matters, and get in touch with the show by emailing hello@iPropertyRadio.com.
Okay, I want to thank all of our guests for being on the show with us today. Next week we'll be joined by Dr. David Duffy, Director of Property Industry in Ireland, in studio. But now for thanks to Shane Phelan, who was on sound, producer Katie Talon. We're back at the same time next week, so stay tuned for Bowl of Soul, which is coming up next. From Gavin Gallagher and myself, Brian Fox, have a great week.